जय गुरुदेव प्रमला जी।
Jai Gurudev.
Hello.
Hari Om, Dr. Renu. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatītam Trigunarahitam Satpurum Tam Namami Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayana Sutrabhashyakrtau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. So yesterday we stopped at this and we'll continue from the meaning of Om. All the chapters in the Gita end with the above words. The only variation being the title of the chapter. In the expression Om Tat Sat, Om is the name of Brahman, a phonetic name for the Lord. Apart from this, linguistically, that is grammatically, this term has a meaning too. It means that which protects everyone, that which sustains everything. Avati rakshati iti Om. Phonetically, A is the first and basic sound that you make when you open your mouth. Thus, A A is the first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet. Also, when you close your mouth and make a sound, what comes out is the sound and in between there is a rounding off sound. A plus U plus O along with the M is Om. A plus U plus O. All forms, all objects have names, and all names are words. Words, even the longest ones like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, are nothing but sounds. These sounds all come between the A that comes when you open your mouth and make a sound, and the sound that comes when the mouth closed. You cannot make any further sounds after this letter Thus, these are the two sounds within which all sounds are produced. Given that the Lord is the Lord of everything, his name should be Om. And to account for the everything, the U is inserted in between. In this way, Om becomes the name of Bhagavan, the Lord. Also, each of these three letters has been loaded by the Shastra to stand for the whole. This practice is called Aropa in Sanskrit. Just as a country's flag represents its constitution, here the A represents the entire gross world, Sthula Prapancha. The U represents the entire subtle world, Sukshma Prapancha, meaning the mind or inner world. And the M represents the unmanifest condition, like in sleep, when everything resolves and on waking again comes out. In this way, stands for the entire realm of cause and effect, which is nothing but Brahman. That Brahman, Om, is Tat Sat. Tat, that Lord alone is Satyam. Sat, and everything else is Mithya, depending upon that Tat, the Lord. Therefore, the expression Om Tat Sat is a general conclusion. Having said a lot of things, the conclusion is Om Tat Sat, meaning that after all is said and done, Satya alone is. The Bhagavad Gita has the status of an Upanishad, contains the subject matter of Brahman. The knowledge of Brahman, Brahma Vidya, is simply you are that, Tattvamasi. The Gita is also Yoga Shastra, dealing with attitudes and values with reference to self-management, self-improvement, maturity, and so on, which is Karma Yoga. Even the rules of sannyasa come under Yoga Shastra since they are not jnana. The nature of the dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. This Yoga Shastra and Brahma Vidya form the dialogue that took place between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvada, the dialogue that imparts knowledge. The word Vada means a discussion. A dialogue that imparts knowledge is different from a dialogue between equals, where there is no imparting of knowledge involved, only exploring of knowledge. There are also two types of dismissing dialogues wherein the other person is declared to be in the wrong. One type is the dialogue of fanatics, Jalpa, and the other is Vitanda, the dialogue of the intolerant, where one person cannot stand another person saying something and getting away with it. The discussion between Lord Krishna and Arjuna was neither a Jalpa nor a Vitanda, nor was it a discussion in order to discover something. It was a dialogue that imparts knowledge, wherein one participant knew and the other wanted to know. Therefore, it was a Guru-Shishya Samvada, a dialogue between a teacher and student. This particular meaning is denoted by the prefix sam added to the vada. This chapter under study is entitled Karma because it deals with the subject matter of Brahman in terms of karma. Therefore, it is said, Karma Yoga Namo Tritiyodhyaya. Karma Yogo Nama Tritiyodhyaya. As we have seen before, the word yoga used in each of the titles of the 18 chapters of the Gita means subject matter. Thus, the third chapter entitled Karma in the Bhagavad Gita, whose status is that of the Upanishad, which contains the knowledge of Brahman and Yoga Shastra in the form of a samvada, a dialogue that imparts knowledge between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, is concluded. So this is very profound. The meaning of the word Om. Avati Rakshati iti Om. So that which protects everyone and that which sustains everything. And it is the beginning. When you open your mouth, you say ah, and when you close your mouth, you say and in between there is this oo. So the ah, all the words in the world are contained within these two syllables, ah and And ah stands for the whole manifest world, the Stula Sharira, the Stula Prapancha, not Stula Sharira, Stula Prapancha, all that we can see, the manifest world, and U represents the Sukshma Prapancha, the mind and the inner world. And represents the unmanifest condition, like in sleep when everything resolves and on waking again comes out. Almost like the Karana Prapancha. So all the three states are included in these three syllables, A, U, and M. And therefore, because it is all inclusive, it stands for the entire realm of cause and effect, which is nothing but Brahman. And that Brahman, Om, is Tat Sat. That Lord alone is Satyam, Tat Sat. And all else is Nitya. Such a powerful three syllable, three words in that we have to remember. Om Tat Sat. It's so pregnant with so much of meaning in there. Yeah. Anyone wants to add on to this or share your inputs before we go back to the starting of chapter 3? Again, Swamiji touched upon the different kinds of vadas. Samvada, which is between the teacher and the taught. There is knowledge being imparted and there is a student who wants to know. As against just jalpa or vitanda. Jalpa is that of a dialogue between fanatics, and the other dialogue, vitanda, is between the dialogue of intolerant people. No matter what the other person says, this other one wants to put him down. Whereas jalpa is each one holds on to his or her own belief. He says that is true. And it is both Brahma Vidya as well as Yoga Shastra. So it deals with the subject matter Brahman, and therefore it is Brahma Vidya. It talks of both the lifestyles, both sannyasa as well as karma yoga. Therefore, it is called Yoga Shastra. Yeah. We'll just go up to think I will just open instead of this. Just give me a second. So the topic of karma. In the previous chapter, beginning at verse 55, Lord Krishna pointed out that a wise person, a sthita prajna, is one who gives up all desires, being happy with oneself in oneself. This is the ultimate human end and is what is meant by moksha, liberation or freedom. Giving up desires implies giving up all activities also. An activity is pursued because there is a desire to accomplish a given end. If there is no desire to accomplish a given end, there is no pursuit. Arjuna wanted Shreyas, liberation, and understood that in order to gain it, knowledge alone was required and karma was of no use. Krishna explained all this when Arjuna asked him to describe a sthita prajna. Before that, Krishna talked about the nature of the Atma being free from any limitation. Then he asked Arjuna to listen to what he had to say about Karma Yoga. He said, Yoge tu imam shrunu, 39th verse of Gita 2. During this discussion, Krishna asked Arjuna to perform action, remaining rooted in Karma Yoga. Yogastaha kuru karmani, the 48th verse of chapter 2. This mandate confused Arjuna. Should I continue to do karma or should I pursue knowledge? He wondered. If I pursue knowledge, I will definitely gain moksha. Whereas, if I perform karma, I will be bound by karma phala. Even karma yoga is not adequate for moksha. How then am I to gain moksha if I perform action? Arjuna had made it very clear to Krishna early in the second chapter that he wanted moksha. He told Krishna in so many words, I am your student. Please teach me so that I will gain Shreyas moksha. Arjuna naturally expected Krishna to tell him exactly what would give him moksha. Krishna pointed out that knowledge would give him moksha, thereby implying that all karma was to be renounced in order to pursue knowledge. Why then was Krishna advising him to do karma? Having said that knowledge would give Arjuna moksha, Krishna had then said, get up and fight. What did this mean? Did Krishna think that Arjuna was unfit for moksha? Or did he think that karma yoga would also result in moksha? Arjuna wanted to know what Krishna's contention really was. The situation was like a man going to a doctor, being told that he had diabetes, and being advised to start and end each day with sweet rolls and pastries. Such a prescription would result only in a quick death and is not at all befitting the man's condition. Here Arjuna wanted moksha, absolute freedom, and karma was prescribed for him. He knew that the karmas enjoined by the Veda were strictly for achieving results within samsara, a life of limitation, and that they would not deliver him from samsara. Krishna himself had said to Arjuna, may you not get involved with any karma unfolded in the Veda. Arjuna was therefore confused by all these conflicting statements. Since moksha was said to be purely in the form of knowledge, he concluded that he should go for knowledge. And if he was to pursue knowledge, why do karma? This was why Arjuna wanted to become a renunciate, a monk, and renounce all activities so that he could dedicate his life to the pursuit of knowledge. Giving up everything, may you go after this knowledge. Sannyasasya Shravanam Kuryat was a popular statement. The sannyasis Arjuna had seen had all given up everything to pursue knowledge. He therefore thought that if he was interested in moksha, he should do the same. This is the case for everything one wants in life. If money is what you're interested in, you must give up a lot of things and go after money. Or if you want power, you should go after it to the exclusion of all else, spending whatever money is necessary to get it. You cannot expect to retain your money and at the same time gain power. No election was ever won that way. However, after gaining power, whether you are able to regain the money is a different issue. Arjuna therefore thought, if I want knowledge, it is only reasonable that I should give up karma action. For a person to pursue knowledge in a dedicated fashion, giving up everything is not an unreasonable requirement. This is why a life of renunciation, sannyasa, loomed so large in Arjuna's mind and was all he wanted. In his eyes, sannyasa seemed to be the only destination and was the right thing to do. But Krishna had said, having decided to fight, please get up and fight. Tasmat uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchayah. 37th verse of chapter 2. Knowledge alone is adequate for moksha. Arjuna's confusion was based on his incorrect understanding of renunciation. Krishna seems to have dismissed the pursuit of karma for good by not allowing it to be considered in the pursuit of moksha. Therefore, sannyasa had to be the answer. At the same time, however, Krishna had praised karma. This apparent contradiction caused Arjuna to ask, what exactly should I do? He did not think of pursuing both karma and moksha because nowhere in the second chapter did Krishna mention combining them. Knowledge, jnana, is adequate for moksha. Moksha does not depend on any karma because it is not something that is created. Being the very nature of the Atma, moksha is already accomplished. The self is already liberated, already free, and needs only to be recognized as such. Therefore, knowledge alone is adequate for moksha. And after knowledge, karma is also not required because the person is happy with himself or herself as he or she is. What karma is to be done then, and for what purpose? Doing karma for the pleasure of it is not what is being discussed here. To do karma merely for the pleasure of it means that one may or may not do it. Some people will do karma and enjoy themselves, while others may not do any karma at all and still enjoy themselves. If you do something for the enjoyment of it, there is no question of doing it as a bounden duty. Therefore, you need not do it, or you may do it. But for moksha, why should you do karma when all that is required is knowledge? If knowledge is adequate, then you must only pursue that knowledge. Thus, from what Lord Krishna had said so far, it looked to Arjuna as though knowledge was the prime pursuit. But it was also very clear to Arjuna that he had been commanded to perform action. Therefore, the first dose of teaching contained in the second chapter was confusing to Arjuna, who was already confused when the teaching began. In an attempt to resolve his confusion, he asked Krishna to describe a sthita prajna, a wise person. This was an indirect question in that By knowing exactly what a Sthita Prajna was, Arjuna thought he would know whether it was knowledge or karma that would make him wise and therefore free. In response, Lord Krishna did not mention karma at all. He talked only about self-mastery and knowledge. He never said that one who does karma becomes a Sthita Prajna. All of Krishna's descriptions of a wise person implied knowledge alone. He had said that what is night for the ignorant is day for the wise, and what is night for the wise is day for the ignorant. In this way, he talked about two visions, that of the wise and that of the ignorant. The vision of one who is ignorant being different from the vision of one who is wise. From all that Krishna had told him, Arjuna received confirmation that knowledge was adequate for moksha. There was no question of moksha requiring a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of karma, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Moksha, after all, is not like an English trifle or granola. Only knowledge is necessary, and all that little bits are useless. All other little bits are useless. Thus, Arjuna concluded, if knowledge alone is going to liberate me, then the pursuit of knowledge is enough. If knowledge is adequate, karma never comes into the picture, neither before knowledge nor after knowledge. Because this was Arjuna's thinking, he had a doubt to raise. Thus, when Krishna finished talking, Arjuna asked his question. There are two types of questions. One is a question that is asking for an explanation, called prashna in Sanskrit. What is a wise person is such a question. Another type of question involves doubt. Doubt, samshaya, comes in the form of, does the Sthita Prajna walk, talk, sit, etc. or not? Only when there are two or more opinions about a topic is there a possibility of a doubt. Throughout the Gita, Arjuna raised doubts and also asked questions involving definitions or description. When Arjuna wanted to know what a wise person was, he was not expressing a doubt, although he may have had one. He only wanted to know. So that was just a prashna. It was not a samshaya. Samshaya happens when there are two or more opinions about a topic. That is a doubt. What is sannyasa, for example, is not a doubt. It is purely a question asking for a definition. But when Arjuna asked which was better, sannyasa or karma yoga, he was expressing a doubt. Here in the beginning of the third chapter, he raised a doubt. Arjuna uvacha jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. Arjuna said, asked, Janardana, O Janardana, karmanaha, that action, buddhihi, knowledge, jayasi, better, te mata, te mata chet, if it is your contention, that then, ghore karmani, in the gruesome action, ma, me, kim niyojayasi, why do you impel, Keshava, O Keshava? Arjuna said, if, O Janardana, your contention is that knowledge is better than action, why then do you impel me into this gruesome action, O Keshava? If I remember right, I think Nana had explained the meaning of the word Keshava, right? As in, there was this asura called Kesha in the form of a horse. Was it a horse? And Krishna kills him by getting into his mouth and then destroying him by becoming big. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is what I remember of this. Because every name has actually a story behind how that name is got. Does anyone remember the word, the story behind Keshava? You're all able to hear me, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Just that don't remember.
Okay, okay. That's fine. I think this is what I vaguely remember. Anyway, we'll proceed. I just thought we'll, quickly recap the meaning behind, because that itself gives us a whole. Arjuna has used specific words because there's a meaning also why he's used these particular words. Arjuna, that's what we'll see in the PDF. Arjuna addressed Lord Krishna here as Janardana, a name for the Lord, which means one who upholds the law of karma by giving the fruits of wrong action to the performer of the action. Wrong karma results in pain, dukkha, either immediately or later. Krishna's contention, as Arjuna saw it, was the pursuit of knowledge, and knowledge is better than or superior to action, karma. The action being referred to here was no ordinary action, such as performing a ritual or cooking. It was a terrible, gruesome action involving bloodshed and the destruction of many people. Therefore, Arjuna asked Krishna, "Why do you engage me in this terrible action? If with reference to moksha, knowledge is superior, if knowledge alone is going to give me moksha, why are you asking me to do karma?" In Arjuna's understanding, Krishna was asking him to act, but at the same time, he was praising knowledge and its pursuit. Krishna seemed to be saying that knowledge liberates, but at the same time, he was asking Arjuna to do karma, and terrible karma at that. Arjuna wanted to be a sannyasi, and Krishna seemed to be pushing him into the ring to fight. He had not even signed a contract with him. He had asked only that Krishna be his driver, not his agent, who would arrange fighting matches for him. Arjuna's question, "Why are you asking me to perform this terrible action?" extends into the next verse as well. So I guess he's used the word Janardana here because Janardana is the one who gives he's the karma phala data, the one who gives the results of wrong actions, right or wrong actions to the person performing the action. And here Arjuna was asked to perform a terrible action, not just some cooking or some ritual. It was like it is killing people. So that is why he expresses, he calls Krishna as Janardana. He says, "You are the one who gives the karma phalas to people who do action. Why are you asking me to do such a terrible action?" व्यामिश्रेणेव वाक्येन बुद्धिं मोहयसीव मे तदेकं वद निश्चित्य येन श्रेयोऽहमाप्नुयाम्. Vyamishrena, self-contradictory. Vakyena, with words. Iva, seemingly. Me, mind. Buddhim, mind. Mohayasi iva, you appear to confuse. Yena, by which. Aham, I. Shreyaha, liberation. Aptum, Apnuyam, that shall gain. Tat, that. Ekam, one. Nischitya, having decided, that is you having decided. Vada, tell. With words that are seemingly contradictory, you appear to be confusing my mind. Having decided which is better, tell me the one thing by which I shall gain liberation. Arjuna did not say that Krishna's words were self-contradictory, but that they were seemingly contradictory. In Arjuna's understanding, there was contradiction. But even knowing this, He did not say to Krishna, "You confuse me with self-contradictory words," which would have been an accusation. Here, we are given an indication of how one should talk in such situations. When Arjuna said, "By words which are seemingly contradictory, you seem to be confusing me," he meant that, in fact, Krishna's intention was to confuse him. We know that there is often accusation involved in a dialogue between two people. If your perception is that a person did this or that to you, you may say, "You did this to me." The person then becomes defensive and will not accept your statement. You then feel that your feelings are invalidated, that you are not understood. The other person also feels that he or she is accused and not understood at all. In other words, there is not only no communication, but also miscommunication. Here, Arjuna's use of the word "iva," as though, reveals an important principle in communication. Never evoke the defensive person in the one with whom you are communicating. It's such an important takeaway. Never evoke the defensive person in the one with whom you are communicating. Arjuna was not accusing Krishna of confusing him, nor did he say that his words were contradictory. Instead, he said that Krishna's words seemed to be contradicting themselves, and therefore Krishna seemed to confuse him. This means that Arjuna did not think that Krishna was confusing him, only that this was how he perceived it. He says, "My perception is that I have not understood what you have taught because you seem to praise knowledge." Moksha is not produced by karma. For a wise person, all the karmas and their results that are mentioned in the Veda are like a well that has been completely flooded over by water. Of what use is the well water when there is water everywhere? You need not search for the well. When the river is dry, the well water is useful. But when the river is overflowing and the well is underneath it, you're not going to go looking for the well because it is not going to be of any use to you. Similarly, for the person who knows himself or herself to be full, free from limitation, of what use is an object of security and happiness except for its empirical value? This was how Krishna had praised the wise person. By praising the wise, wisdom is praised. Krishna had praised wisdom in this way and had made it very clear that knowledge was quite adequate for moksha. So Arjuna told Krishna that he was confused by being asked to perform action. Arjuna's confusion was based on his conclusion that either karma or knowledge should be able to take him to Shreyas. Karma, action, is something that can be produced, something that is born out of one's will, whereas moksha cannot be produced. 4 types of results can be produced by karma. Something can be created by you. Something that has already been created can be modified or destroyed by you. Something can be cleansed or purified by you. And a place that is already there can be reached. Whether actions are worldly or religious, they can only produce one of these 4 types of results. So what are the 4 types of results that action or karma can produce? That the first one is something can be created by you. The second is something that has already been created can be modified or destroyed by you. Third, something can be cleansed or purified by you. And fourth, a place that is already there can be reached. I think we'll pause here. We can maybe discuss the different examples in these 4. We've done this before also, but it is good for us to discuss these four so that we understand there are only four types of results possible by karma. One is to create, like out of a ball of wool, you create maybe a sweater or gloves or a shawl. That is what you've created. Something that has already been created can be modified or destroyed by you. Example is converting your milk into yogurt. There is already something that is created that can be modified. And then the third is something can be cleansed or purified by you. What comes to my mind is your antakarna over here. And a place that is already there can be reached. This place that is already there is, in literal terms, is like you go from point A to point B. And you use karma for that. Only with action you can reach from point A to point B. Either you do that physically by taking a vehicle, or even mentally you can move from one place to the other. But that requires some part of some action on your part. You have to think of Delhi, for instance, to go to Delhi.
Jai Gurudev.
Yeah.
What the fire does? It's converting the wood into ashes. So that would be, you are changing the. This will come in which category?
It is something that is modified, no? The action, yeah. You're lighting the fire, and the fire converts the wood, which is already created. Wood is already there. It is created. That is being
So they are
modified,
not
destroyed.
okay. They didn't use the term destroy.
There is a word destroyed.
Yeah, they used it as a modification.
There is both. Something that has already been created can be modified or destroyed by you.
Destroy. Okay.
Like, for instance, antibiotics. No, something bacteria is already there. You're destroying the bacteria by using antibiotics.
Yeah.
Or there is dirt, and something can be clean, purified by, like how you clean your vessels and you clean your house, the dust from the floor, the dust from a mirror. You can clean and purify it.
When we started a project in Dharavi, that time there was a big garbage dump there. And I'm from Nasik, that was the only place where biocompost through vermiculture and all that. So 4 kilos I used to carry. And we made that garbage dump into a beautiful garden and put up some this thing for the youngsters to do their physical exercises, those parallel bars and all that in that garden. So that cleaned and purified, we created a garbage dump into a beautiful garden. And these youngsters came to our help when we started the school, when they came to beat us up, because ours was a free school, we started there. And the local people who were charging money, English medium computer education we were giving. In a one room we started. So at that time, I remember these youngsters came to our help because we had put parallel bars and all that in the garden for them. So that cleaned and purified.
Yeah. So beautiful. So whether actions are worldly or religious, they can only produce one of these four types of results. Here, however, we are talking about moksha, which cannot be produced. If it could be produced, it would be lost also. If, for example, moksha could be achieved by purifying the Atma, it would take no time at all for the Atma to become impure again. You would have to scrub it every day. Nor can the Atma be reached because Atma is myself. It is not something I have to reach because it is not away from myself. Therefore, Reaching it is impossible. Modification of the Atma is also not moksha. What can be modified is subject to time. So moksha gained will be lost. Also, in order for the Atma to be subject to modification, it would have to be an object, objectifiable by me. But because the Atma is myself, it cannot be an object in my hands. Therefore, it is not something that I can modify. The self is already accomplished and moksha is identical with it. But Krishna was asking Arjuna to do karma. Therefore, Arjuna asked him to settle on one or the other, either knowledge or karma. If it was to be karma, he wanted to know why. The nature of knowledge. Knowledge is not something that is produced and is therefore different from karma. Knowledge is knowing things as they are. To know that an unclean object is unclean or that a clean object is clean is knowledge, jnana. To know an untruth as untruth or a truth as truth is also jnana. To know the real, satya as satya is jnana. And to know the unreal, mithya as mithya is also jnana. Because knowledge is as true as the object, it is not dependent upon your will. I cannot decide that this is how knowledge should be. I can only see the object as it is. Nor can knowledge be modified by my will. The will can set you up to pursue knowledge, but it cannot interfere in the perception of an object. This being the case, jnana and karma are two entirely different things. Knowledge is what is. There is no will required on your part to it is not dependent on your will. Knowledge is like the apple is an apple. It is an apple no matter what. Whether you choose to know it as an apple or not, irrespective of that, it remains an apple. Whereas for karma, will is required. Arjuna wanted Krishna to tell him whether knowledge or karma would liberate him. Tell me whether I will gain Shreyas by karma or by knowledge. Tell me which one will do it. Do not tell me that knowledge is all right and karma is also all right and that I can go this way or that way. Suppose you go to one teacher who tells you that you should perform karma. Then you decide to go to another teacher for a second opinion, just as you might if a doctor you have consulted recommends surgery. The second teacher may say, what karma? You should do yoga. Yet another teacher may say, you must pursue knowledge. It is to be expected that if you go to 3 different teachers, each one may give you a different set of instructions. You then have to find out for yourself which of the 3 is proper, which teacher is right. There may be a 4th person who is right. It is also understandable that the same teacher may give different advice to different students. One student may ask, should I marry or not? And be told that he or she should marry. Another student may be told not to marry because he or she does not know how to take care of himself or herself. The person is already a dukhi and risks making another person a dukhi also by marrying prematurely. Thus, a teacher may advise his or her students differently. Arjuna's confusion about knowledge and karma. In the Gita, there are only 2 people involved, Krishna the teacher and Arjuna the student. It seemed to Arjuna that Krishna was saying, knowledge liberates, therefore do karma. Only one student was involved here, Arjuna. It looked as if he was being told, knowledge is okay and karma yoga is okay. Arjuna was therefore understandably confused by Krishna's seemingly contradictory words. There was a similar situation in the epic Ramayana between Prahasta and Ravana. Ravana had kidnapped Rama's wife Sita. This was probably the first kidnapping ever reported and was definitely a federal case. Rama, who was a king, took the case into his own hands. When negotiations for Sita's return were unsuccessful, Rama declared war on Ravana. Ravana had a minister, Prahasta. Summoning him, Ravana asked, Prahasta, what do you think? Should I give Sita back to Rama? I think we are inviting trouble by keeping her here. To which Prahasta replied, Yes, Maharaj, you should give her back because we are definitely inviting danger by doing otherwise. We will all be destroyed. Hearing this, Ravana became very angry and said, Are you saying that we will be destroyed by this Rama, a mere mortal, an ordinary human being? Are you telling me Ravana, who has 10 heads and great powers, that this puny tiny Rama is going to destroy me? Never, Maharaj, never, Prahasta replied. Rama is a nobody. He has only 2 hands and 2 legs. With his bow and arrows, what can he possibly do to you? Then Ravana said, But I am told that this Rama is not an ordinary mortal. Prahasta's reply came promptly. He said, Maharaj, do you know what I have heard about this Rama? They say that he is an avatara, an incarnation of the Lord himself, and not an ordinary mortal. Growing even angrier, Ravana asked, Do you think that Rama and Lakshmana with these monkeys can beat us? We can beat anybody. When I am the Lord of the 3 worlds, are you saying that these 2 are going to destroy me? Never, Maharaj, Prahasta replied. How can these 2 fellows with their monkeys do anything to you? Ravana then said, But I am told that that monkey Hanuman is a very powerful fellow. Maharaj, there is not only there is not only one Hanuman, Prahasta responded. There are thousands of monkeys. Some of them are as great as Hanuman. There are so many of them that if they all come here, we are done for. Then Ravana asked, Are we afraid of monkeys? What, Maharaj? Exclaimed Prahasta. Of course, we are not afraid of monkeys. Varuna, the god of water, comes and waters our gardens. The god of air, Vayu, comes and sweeps our floors. Why should we be afraid of these monkeys? It would seem that Prahasta had read a book equivalent to How to Win Friends and Influence People. The advantage of being a Prahasta is that in every cabinet reshuffle, his name always appears on the top of the list because he says yes to everything. A teacher answers questions. Such pleasantries may be acceptable to those who are anxious to maintain a position, but in Arjuna's case, the relationship was one of teacher and student. So there was no question of being a Prahasta over here. Krishna was Krishna, and therefore he did not mince any words. I am your student, Arjuna had told Krishna. A teacher should not be afraid to tell a student what is true and what is not true. If a teacher does not tell you what is true, who else is going to do it? Arjuna wanted Krishna to tell him what was true and not true. Therefore, he was not looking for pleasantries. He wanted to be told what was the one thing that would give him moksha and did not want to hear about anything in between. He did not want to be told that karma is good and knowledge is also good because he did not see it that way, even though it looked as though this was what Krishna was saying. Arjuna was as though saying to Krishna, from your own words, I understand that knowledge liberates and karma binds. Why then do you want me to be bound to this karma? Every karma I perform only makes the knot more complicated. If I am to resolve this knot, this tie to samsara, a life of limitation, for which I need and want moksha, then I need to pursue knowledge. But you are asking me to act. Therefore, you must have something in mind. Please tell me what it is, because I do not understand. This then was the thinking behind Arjuna's question, which was really a doubt. Krishna answered him in the next verse. Shri Bhagavan Lokesmin dvividha nishta pura prokta maya nagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yogina. Shri Bhagavan, the Lord Vacha said, Anagha, O sinless one, asmin in this loke world, dvividha fold, nishtha committed lifestyles, pura in the beginning, maya by me, prokta was told, jnana yogena in the form of the pursuit of knowledge, sankhyana for the renunciates, karma yogena in the form of the pursuit of action, yogina for those who pursue activity. Shri Bhagwan said, O sinless one, the twofold committed lifestyle in this world was told by me in the beginning. The pursuit of knowledge for the renunciates and the pursuit of action for those who pursue activity. Krishna was not talking here as Mr. Krishna, who was born on a given day at a given time, but as Ishvara, the Lord. Throughout the Gita, Krishna talked as the Lord, except in one or two places where he said to Arjuna, "You are my friend." In fact, anyone who understands the nature of Ishvara can talk as an avatara, as Ishvara incarnate, just as Vyasa had Krishna do in the Mahabharata. In the 4th chapter of the Gita, Krishna himself talked about what an avatara is, as we shall see later. Here in this verse, Krishna said that in the Veda, the twofold nishtha was expounded by him. Nishtha means a committed lifestyle. For example, a person who is committed to the practice of japa, chanting the Lord's name, is called japanishtha. And when performing austerities, tapas, as the emphasis in one's life, the person is called taponishtha. One for whom the pursuit of Brahman is the nishtha is called brahmanishta. And jnana-nishtha, one whose commitment is to knowledge. In this verse, Krishna said that one of the nishtas or lifestyles he revealed to the world in the beginning is for the Sankhyas, the sannyasis, and is in the form of jnana yoga, meaning that knowledge is the means. Knowledge is the means for the jnana yogi who is a sannyasi because he has no karma to do other than the pursuit of knowledge in order to gain moksha. The other nishtha, karma yoga, he revealed to the world in the beginning is for everyone else, karma yogis. Krishna then revealed the twofold nishtha to Arjuna. The word Sankhya means knowledge and is also used in the Gita by Lord Krishna to mean sannyasa, the life of renunciation. Those who are committed to knowledge are called Sankhyas, and the knowledge that is unfolded so clearly by all the Upanishads, the subject matter referred to as Vedanta is called Sankhya. The only topic that Vedanta deals with is Atma is Brahman. Therefore, Sankhya means Brahman. And what is unfolded by the Vedas, by the Vedanta is called Sankhyam Brahma. Because the knowledge of Brahman is called Sankhya, and those who pursue that knowledge are also called Sankhyas, we find in the Gita that the word is also used as a synonym for sannyasa, the lifestyle of renunciation in which knowledge alone is pursued. Because Arjuna wanted Shreyas, moksha, Krishna told him about this twofold nishtha. Moksha is clearly the end in view, and the nishtha is a means to this end. The nishtha is twofold because there are two different groups of people. One group is called karma yogis or just yogis and includes everyone who does not live a life of renunciation. For these people, there is karma yoga, whereas for the sannyasi, there is jnana yoga. These two styles are in accordance with the 4 stages of life found in the Vedic culture. The first stage is called Brahmacharya Ashrama, wherein the person lives a studious life with learning as the main focus. The Brahmacharya Ashrama prepares one for the next ashrama, the Grahastha Ashrama or marriage. In Chandogya Upanishad, we read that Shvetaketu spent 12 years in the Gurukula, which he joined when he was 12 years old. So, the first 24 years of one's life is the first stage of the Brahmacharya Ashrama. I will read this one, this footnote. Samyak khyayate sa vaidiki samyak buddhihi sankhya taya prakashayatvena sambandhi tattvam sankhyam tat vishaya buddhihi sankhya buddhihi sa sankhya buddhihi esham jnaninam uchita bhavati te sankhyaha. This is the definition of sankhya, of sannyasi and a sankhya. So the first 24 years of one's life is the first stage of life, which is the Brahmacharya Ashrama. The second stage of life, Grahastha Ashrama, where being a householder and raising a family is the primary focus, prepares one for the third stage called Vanaprastha Ashrama. In this stage, a person remains married, but husband and wife live as friends rather than as a married couple. The person continues to perform the various rituals enjoined by the Veda for householders, but withdraws from worldly activities and lives a contented life. The Vanaprastha Ashrama prepares one for the fourth and final stage of life, sannyasa, a life of renunciation. Sannyasa is the best retirement plan there is because you do not require money for it. You simply renounce whatever you have. Renunciation is possible at any stage. So it is very beautiful the way Krishna said there are 2 lifestyles, committed lifestyles for moksha. Moksha is the end, and that undoubtedly is the common end. But based on the nature of the person, there are 2 lifestyles. And these are again based on the different stages of your life. So the Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, they all have some karma to do, whereas the sannyasa renounces all karma. Because see, even in Vanaprastha, person continues to perform the various rituals enjoined by the Veda for the householders, but withdraws from worldly activities and lives a contented life. So there is still some karma going on even for a person in Vanaprastha. Whereas that prepares one for the fourth and final stage of life, a life of renunciation. Renunciation is possible at any stage. Arjuna, who was in the Grahastha Ashrama, wanted to renounce. He did not want to go through the intermediary stage as a Vanaprastha. To remain as he was meant that he would have to remain a Grahastha for a length of time and then take permission from his wife to move on to the Vanaprastha Ashrama, none of which would be easy. Nor was it necessary to do so. For the day a person wants to get out of any of the 3 ashramas, it can be done. When one discovers the readiness, the dispassion in oneself on that very day, one can take sannyasa. There is a Vedic sanction for it. The sannyasa ashrama is a stage in life where one is absolved from performing all karma. One is freed from all duties in order to pursue knowledge. This pursuit is all that is to be done. Therefore, the person must already be a jnani or want nothing but knowledge. Types of sannyasa. There are two main types of sannyasa. For a person who is already a jnani, there is vidvat sannyasa, a sannyasa taken because of knowledge. The person has knowledge and therefore there is nothing more for him or her to do in the world. No obligations whatsoever. If the knowledge has been gained in any of the other three ashramas, brahmacharya ashrama, grahastha ashrama or vanaprastha ashrama, the person can take to the sannyasa ashrama directly, taking vidvat sannyasa so that he or she is no longer obligated. Otherwise, for the person with knowledge, there will still be obligations because each of the first three ashramas implies certain duties on one's part, which cannot be left undone as long as one is in that ashrama. Thus, the person takes sannyasa to be free of these obligations, to make it perfect, in other words. So, if a person has gained knowledge in any of the three ashramas, so that means there is a possibility that knowledge can be gained in any of the three ashramas, either in the brahmacharya ashrama, grahastha ashrama, or vanaprastha ashrama. It is not that knowledge is the right of only the sannyasa, the sannyasi, right? So that is the implication, isn't it? In this, what Swamiji has mentioned. If knowledge has been gained in any of the other three ashramas, the person can take to sannyasa ashrama directly, taking vidvat sannyasa. The other main type of sannyasa is called vividisha sannyasa and is meant for knowing. Veditum ichha vividisha, that is the desire to know. This sannyasa is for those who desire to know the self, Atma, as Brahman. The person knows exactly what is to be done. He or she has heard that this Atma is Brahman and wants to know it. Such a person is not interested in anything else and has a certain viveka, discrimination, with reference to the real and the unreal. He or she also has vairagya, dispassion, mumukshutvam, the desire for liberation, and other qualifications in various degrees. And with these qualifications, the person takes to the life of sannyasa called vividisha sannyasa. There is a third type of sannyasa called apat sannyasa. When a person thinks he or she is going to die and does not want to die a grahastha or a vanaprastha, but rather as a sannyasi, he takes apat sannyasa. Apat means danger. Because the sannyasa ashrama is always praised in the Shastra, it is natural for a person to want the results of this ashrama. It is as though the person has had a blank check all along and now wants to encash it. For one who has already lived a life grahastha and has been told that death is near, there seems to be no use in continuing in the grahastha ashrama. A man who is not about to die will usually want to remain a grahastha because he is fond of his wife and children. But if he knows he is going to die fairly soon, he may go for apat sannyasa. At such a time, one does not require a guru, but can simply declare oneself to be a sannyasi. With the sun, the elements, and all the gods as witness, one can make vows for which there is a particular mantra. And if one happens to survive, the vows taken can always be ratified later. This is how Shankara became a sannyasi. How Shankara became a sannyasi. Shankara wanted to become a sadhu at a very young age, but his mother was not at all agreeable. As the story of his life goes, he had the help of a crocodile that had caught hold of his leg while he was bathing in the river. Shankara's mother was waiting for him on the bank and he called out to her to tell her what was happening. It may have been a ploy or perhaps the crocodile was symbolic of samsara. We do not know. In any case, when his mother began crying, Shankara told her that if he took the vows of sannyasa, the crocodile would let go of him. Because there was danger to his life involved, this was apat sannyasa. Shankara then took the vows, and lo and behold, the crocodile released him. When he walked out of the river, his mother said, "Come on, let's go home." "What?" Shankara replied, "I am a sannyasi now." When his mother told him the vows were only for the crocodile's sake, he said, "Not at all. I have made the vows and I am going." In this way, Shankara became a sannyasi. Later, he went to the Guru, Govinda Bhagavat Pada, who lived on the banks of Narmada in the middle of India, and became his disciple. It was Govinda Pada who ratified Shankara's vows of sannyasa. Ratification is always possible whenever one has taken apat sannyasa and survives. Ratification is that repeating it? Because apat sannyasa generally implies that a person's life is in danger. So after he takes to sannyasa, he's no more. Let me just check the meaning of the word ratification. It means the action of signing or giving formal consent to a treaty, contract, or agreement, making it officially valid. So basically,
Is it something like Diksha?
so like Diksha, like he's given him the sannyasa mantra, and the mantra. It's a formal consent. It's like he's formalized the whole thing. What was apat sannyasa became? Probably Shankara was already maybe a vidvat sannyasa by then. So when he walked out of that is done, right? So expecting some good end from the sannyasa ashrama, people have value for it. This expectation is based on the belief that a sannyasi does not take another birth. And if there is a birth, the hope is that one will at least get a better chance in the next life. This is a belief, and one has faith, shraddha in it. A person may be born into a family where he or she can start life as a sadhu, so that directly from the brahmacharya stage, he or she will become a sannyasi and not a grahastha. Thus, those who have become sannyasis this way may have been apat sannyasis in their previous life. So probably this is giving us some indication here, no, for all of us who are mumukshus, who will do karma and karma yoga. So maybe it's a good idea for us to take apat sannyasa. But that thought should come, no, at the end. Because if you take apat sannyasa, the belief is that a sannyasi does not have another birth. That is one belief. Second is, even if he has a birth, he will be born into a conducive environment where directly from the brahmacharya, or where he can start life as a sadhu, so that directly from the brahmacharya stage, he or she will become a sannyasi and not a grahastha.
But at this rate, I think we are going to be Vidvat sannyasis.
Huh?
I think we all will be Vidvat sannyasis the way we are studying Gita.
No, isn't it? Yeah. See, we're all we are karma yogis pursuing knowledge right now. That is the stage we are all in. Or isn't it?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
the whole, that is where we stand right now.
That's right. No, it was on the lighter note.
On the lighter note, okay. Sannyasa means sarva karma sannyasa, which actually from what we've learned so far means akartritvam, that non-doership, abhoktritvam, non-enjoyership. that complete non-doership. That is Jnanena Sarva Karma Sannyasa. Yeah, this is just a thought that maybe we should all become apat sannyasis. If in this life we are not able to complete and gain moksha, then at least the next best option is for us to become apat sannyasis, so that in our next life at least we will ascend higher.
Even this part also, you mentally, if you're resigned, mentally you can be a sannyasi. Physically, you'll be mingling with people, parties and all. But mentally, you're a sannyasi. That also is as good as I feel. Yeah, yes.
I don't know whether that will come under sannyasi, isn't it? Mentally getting out of it, but still doing karma. See, a sannyasi, of course, continues to do karma, but he has that non-doership. Probably what you say is true. I don't know. But for that, we should have reached a very high level of where we are completely free from our raga dveshas. Then you can be that person who is mentally renounced everything. But then the mind is so tricky. You cannot say, I'll mentally renounce and I'll attend parties and all. Because even for a sannyasi, it is said, no, the path is such a sharp path. It is like Shurasya Dhara Nihita Duratyaya. A small little thing and he can slip. So sannyasi actually means you renounce all activity. All worldly activities, basically worldly and those that are prescribed by the Vedas. All those rituals and all you're free from. That, according to the Shastra, is the definition of sannyasi. We can modify it and kind of interpret it in our own way, but that is our perception. But this is what sannyasi is. So the last ritual of a sannyasi. Arjuna's heart was not in apat sannyasa. He was not dying, but he did want to know. Therefore, he wanted to take Vividisha sannyasa. In sannyasa, one gives up all karmas, for which there is a special ritual, the last fire ritual that a sannyasi performs. You may see a sannyasi doing a puja, but you will never see a sannyasi sitting around a fire performing a Vedic ritual. Such a person has been freed of all obligatory fire rituals of all karmas, in fact. A sannyasi's last fire ritual is one in which all karmas are given up. In this ritual, the sannyasi bids goodbye to all the ancestors to whom there has been an obligation. Father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, great-grandfather, great-grandmother, then rishis and devas. The person taking sannyasa says that self-knowledge will be pursued to the exclusion of all else. Asks for the blessings of the paternal and maternal ancestors and takes a vow of abhaya, a vow not to harm any living being, including trees and plants. The sannyasi also vows to be a non-competitor in this world and all others, thereby becoming a person who does not compete for the sake of status, politically, economically, or socially. Knowledge is the only interest for the sannyasi. Having taken these vows, the sannyasi... Yes.
One aspect I was just thinking while you were reading, the last cremation, like you do the cremation right for a body. The sannyasi does his own cremation of his own body. That's why he didn't sit besides the fire. Is it so? Like, I'm just asking. I have this thought because he body wise, physically, he if he cremates his body, then he has no desires, and he only on the atma level. He leads his life in that fashion.
You could be right, very right. And that is actually one of the things he does. I'm not sure whether that's the last ritual he does, where he offers, he cremates, he self-cremates himself while living.
Yeah,
That,
I thought came in my mind. So
yeah. And that is
yeah.
why, if I'm not right, if I'm not wrong, um, sannyasis like Swami Chinmayananda and all, they are not cremated. I think they do samadhi for them. I may be
Yes, their body is taken in a fashion that they are in a sitting posture, and they are not made to lie. Like the
correct.
body is in a sitting posture because and the process of cremation they have already done. Maybe this would be the reason.
That is one. And secondly, all Vedic rituals involve fire. So that is also the fact that they're absolved from doing any of those fire rituals is one thing, that they're giving up having to do all the Vedic rituals, both the Nitya and the Naimitika karmas. That is why they say they bid goodbye to all the ancestors. Otherwise, the Naimitika karma, grahasthas are supposed to do, grahasthas and vanaprasthas, where they offer those yearly shraddh to all the ancestors. So that is why they take, the sannyasa takes the blessings of his ancestors, paternal and maternal, and takes a vow of abhaya. Because he says, from now on, I'm going to pursue only knowledge to the exclusion of all else. So it's really a very profound state, that ashrama, sannyas ashrama, is a very evolved state where you just absolve yourself of all obligations, and then you vow not to be a non-competitor. That's such a subtle state to be in, such an exalted state to be in. You're a non-competitor, and you give abhaya to everyone, to all creatures. You vow not to harm, including trees and plants. But here
It
I have
takes a
this,
lot of courage also, like to go on this path. It needs lot of courage also.
and one should be prepared for it. No, you cannot just take to sannyasa because it is good, because it is very, supposedly has a lot of merits. You just cannot take to sannyasa if you're not prepared, because that will become mithyachara again. You will go, but your mind is again stuck in the worldly matters. That is why that antakarna shuddhi is so important, and for that, karma yoga is important. The lifestyle of a karma yogi. But if he is not going to harm even trees and plants, then it's a doubt that comes, that but he has to eat to survive, no? So how does that happen if he is not harming plants even?
I think he lives on diksha only. He doesn't cook for
Bhiksha
himself.
also,
Yeah,
bhiksha,
but
correct.
somebody else is doing, and see, if you've seen, they don't eat so much. Just the minimal to sustain their body.
They are in samadhi state also. No, they require what I read so many stories of the Brahm Rishis. They survive on the air or on very few sips of water. When they reach in this state, they need very less for their body, because they say that they acquire all their nutrition from the environment. There's one story also, like some rishi was in tapasya, and he only mentally he used to just lick the honey, and that's all. And it is, I don't remember the whole story, but they take their nutrition from the environment. So when they reach in that samadhi state, that's why their body is so thin and very like jeern avastha, they say, na? Only the skeletons remain, and though the breath is there, so they reach in that samadhi state. In the end, they don't require much of nutrition. It's all, I think, the spiritual practices, or maybe the meditations, all these things, I think.
Yeah.
No much what I read. I just read few stories of Brahm Rishis. They did not take much of the food, this they, yeah.
Yeah. So having taken these vows, the sannyasi takes a few symbolic steps towards the north, the direction that stands for moksha. South stands for death. Thus, Lord Death, Lord Yama is a sadhana. This symbolism may be based on the polar attraction in the north. Death never attracts you, whereas freedom from death does. Moving towards the north in search of moksha, having discarded all clothing, the sannyasa is called back by the guru, given a set of simple clothing, and asked to serve and continue studying with the guru. This then is the ritual of sannyasa, be it either Vidvat sannyasa or Vividisha sannyasa. Both are mentioned by Shankara in his commentary. In Vidvat sannyasa, one may or may not take sannyasa formally. The main aim is that by knowledge, one gives up all karmas. The knowledge is that I am a non-doer. I perform no action. This is what is called Naishkarmya, the state of actionlessness. I perform no action at all at any time because Atma, which is I, does not perform any action. Nor does Atma cause anyone to perform action. I am not a doer in spite of all the actions I do. This knowledge is real sannyasa as described jnana karma sannyasa. For the sake of this jnana karma sannyasa, one takes to the lifestyle of sannyasa, pursuing self-knowledge. The other nishtha, karma yoga, is for all those seekers in the other ashramas. The purpose of karma yoga. There is no doubt that karma binds with its limited results. I think we will stop here. We'll do the purpose of karma yoga. We'll start it tomorrow. Maybe we have 2 minutes. We'll just quickly recap whatever we have learned till now. Yeah, and you can unmute and then share your takeaways from today.
Yeah, here it said Vidvat sannyasa, formally you don't have to take sannyasa, right?
Correct.
Mm. And this Vividisha sannyasa is, can you please, I just was not mentally focused.
Vividisha Jnatum Ichuhu what is that? There was one Sanskrit. Jnatum Ichuhu Veditum Icha Vividisha. Desire to know. So all those that take to sannyasa with a desire to know Brahman or know knowledge, that is Vividisha.
So I
So
think we are in that mode now, right?
yeah, but we are not
Yeah.
sannyasas. No, are we sannyasas? No, we are not
No,
sannyasas.
I'm saying we want to know.
Correct. We are all Vividisha karma yogis. or karma yogi actually implies this vividisha also inside, isn't it? Because karma yogi is not just performing action while pursuing knowledge. So veditum ichha is vividisha. For me, my takeaway is you should not evoke a defensive action, a defensive mode in the person that you are communicating to. It's such an important aspect of communication skills. I'm actually guilty of doing the other way around. We directly accuse, and when we accuse, the other person takes a defensive stand. So Arjuna so beautifully, he's the, not just a student, he's one of the perfect students. So he said, Krishna, you seem to confuse me, and I seem to understand it differently, or I seem to get confused with this. So he is keeping it open, and he said, I want you to clarify which is better for me. And then there are two committed lifestyles. It is not that moksha is a common end for both the committed lifestyles. Depending on the nature of the person, depending on the ashrama in which he is in, there are two committed lifestyles. So it is not, and then knowledge is true to the object. For knowledge, you don't require will. Yeah. If anybody else wants to share their takeaways, please go ahead.
Jai Gurudev, about Keshav, is that demon Keshi has been slain by Krishna? That is the name Keshav came up.
Correct. That is why it's come. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Hari Om. Dhanyawad.